You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of the Scottish Football Zone. We always like to comment on football, women's football, men's football, but tonight it's a very special show. It is with myself, Michael, Graham, and Reagan, and we're here with a well-known, well, as I say in Scotland, a well-kent face. It is Craig Ferguson. You might have remember Craig walking to the Euros, but believe it or not, he's walking again to the World Cup. So if you've got any comments or questions, get them in. And and we'll be asking Craig about how preparations are going and all that kind of stuff. So Craig, welcome to the show, mate. I know it's a busy time for you. How are you?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on, guys. Obviously, as you said, a couple of days now before I'm setting off to America for the next big challenge. So it's been a busy few days, but you know what? Busy's good and it's all for such a good cause. So I bring it on and I'm honoured to be on the show, guys. So I appreciate you having me on.
I've got to ask you before we go into more detail about it. I saw we can. I know I know it's a football show and all that, but let's kind of break down the barrier tonight. You're at Murrayfield on Saturday because we beat England again. So
Right.
how was that for you at Murrayfield?
Obviously, starting it off, first things first, right? I'm a football man through and through, right? Rugby is not my sport. I've never really, I've made that kind of clear. But one thing that I have always said is I would love to go to Murrayfield and properly experience it for myself, get a wee bit of that atmosphere and see what it was like for the first time. And then the opportunity to come up to do that, Scotland versus England, the Calcutta Cup in the Six Nations, I was like, sign me up, absolutely. So, it was incredible. To be honest with you, I loved it. I've probably got a bit of a false perception on what it's like now because the first game that I went to was such an incredible match where obviously Scotland pumped. Can I say pumped on here? Does that sound? Obviously,
You can
Scotland.
do, yeah.
Obviously, Scotland beating England so convincingly. So, no, I couldn't complain. It was amazing, mate. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Graham, brilliant to beat England again, but obviously brilliant for Craig to be at Murrayfield and to promote the good cause that he's doing, walking to the World Cup.
Yeah, I'm the biggest rugby fan. When it comes to tournaments, I quite like watching it, like Six Nations World Cup, for example. And I watched the game on Saturday, and I thought Scotland were great. To be honest, if it was Scotland England at Tiddlywinks, I'd probably watch it because it's Scotland England and I watch Scotland win. But it was just the atmosphere was amazing. I've been at Murrayfield a couple of times.
Yeah.
The first time I went was actually Scotland Wales, and I didn't know much about rugby at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the person that I was with, we were sat with Welsh fans in the stadium. I was like, you couldn't get this at football. You couldn't sit with rival fans at a football game. It's just mental. You could drink beer and stuff. It was such a weird occasion, but it was actually it was enjoyable.
It was strange that was one thing for me that like getting used to the difference of that. One, obviously the booze and stuff, that's a whole point of contention in itself when it comes to Scottish sports and stuff like that, the fact that you're allowed it at the rugby and not the football, etc. So that was one thing that obviously it was a nice change, to be honest with you. And then the other thing, exactly as you said, mate, that kind of mixed fans, if you will, being sat right beside a couple English fans and stuff and hearing chants for both sides across the stadium, it was strange. You would definitely not get it in the football, but mate, I echo your points, Graham. What Scotland versus England and the curling, and I'd be all over watching it. Do you know what I mean? I could get up for it all. So it just so happens that we managed to go on and get the win. So no, it was amazing, mate. But obviously, on to chat about football today, lads. My much more comforted sport. So no, I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Don't worry, Craig. We won't mention St Mirren. We'll keep that to the end of the show because it's an up and down season for you guys. But Reagan, it's good to get Craig on to talk about such a big experience.
It's been brilliant because I've followed Craig for a long time. Obviously, seen him on the news, seen him on different radio stations and that. And It's good to get Craig on and speak to him personally as well.
And I can't believe 104 days. I can hardly walk maybe 4 minutes, but 104 days it's going to take you to get to the World Cup. But I think the big question is, will you? Obviously, you'll be there for Scotland winning the World Cup. Yeah, obviously that's the
100%, mate.
goal.
100%. I'll be walking all the way back as well when Scotland win the whole thing.
So, first off, obviously, we need to go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
Was it your idea to do the walk to Munich and for this walk as well, did the charity ask you back to do it?
I mean, like where it all started, to kind of take it back. I mean, you'd need to probably go back to late 2023. It was the night where Norway were playing Spain, and obviously Scotland's qualification for the Euros in 2024 was sealed. I remember I'm quite into my travels. I go away a lot of different places and stuff like that. And I remember at the time I was actually in. I was in Latvia at the time, very random, but it was an amazing trip. And I remember watching it in a pub myself there, and there was only like one other Englishman in the in the kind of pub. And I remember when obviously it was Spain won, and I was like, "Yes, come on!" Celebrating. He's like, "Why do you care about Spain?" And I'm like, "We're going to the Euros." I was buzzing back then. But I mean, the idea of where it kind of came about to walk is a few days after that. My good pal Struan, who's been one of my best friends my whole life, he phoned me. Big Scotland fan himself. We go to the games together, and he was like, "Right, Euros, how we getting there? What we doing? Flights are extortionate. All these things," as everyone was when that kind of first revelation of getting there came about. So he was like, "I've got an idea. Why don't you walk there?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. Like, why would I walk there? No chance." And I thought initially it was a stupid idea, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, that would be a fun adventure, wouldn't it? No, that would be really, really cool." So then I started planning it, and then before I knew, I was just down a rabbit hole where I was like, I need to fucking, sorry, swearing. I was like, I need to quit my job. I need to go and do this. I need to save up my money, and that's basically what I did. I had a job at the time. I was working in a cafe. Saved up months of my own wages, spent it on getting equipment, training, etc. Quit my job, went and walked to the Euros, and what happened? Hopefully some of you know, but it ended up, transpiring to be one of the most incredible things I would ever do in my life. And along the way, we managed to raise so much money for such an important cause in the men's mental health. And then this time around, it was kind of just a continuation on from that. I knew that the amazing work that I kind of was able to achieve last time around with the raising funds for mental health, over £78,000, it's such an amazing amount of money. And I thought to myself, if the chance ever came about again of doing another sort of challenge in raising money for this cause, if Scotland got to another major tournament, little did I know it would be so soon, right enough. But obviously qualified the Denmark game, and here we are now.
Craig, see, when you first started it, did you think that it would go as viral as it did? Because let's be honest, apart from Scotland getting to Euros in the first place, your story was everywhere. Did you actually think it would actually go as mental as it did?
To be honest, like, I knew it would be a story that people would be interested in. I knew some people would, pick up on it and maybe cover it here or there. But I had no idea what was actually going to transpire. I mean, for context, like, I had set the target at 10 grand to raise for charity, and I thought, there's no way we're going to do it, but I'll set it at that anyways, because why the hell not? And obviously, like you said there, did I ever picture in it going as big as it did or as well as it did? No, I knew it would. I knew it would, catch a few eyes and attention. A daft Scotsman walking to the game in a kilt. Of course, like, some people were going to watch that, but no, the way that Scotland got behind it, the way that Germany got behind it, I could have never predicted it. And I'm just so grateful for how it did transpire. And obviously now we're looking to replicate that, but out in the States and on a bigger scale this time.
What was that kind of like support? Like, you got, obviously, Graham alluded to it there, that the Google BBC covered the documentary, and I don't know if they're actually going to follow you again to America, but I mean, tell us what what like that support's been when you were walking over to Germany, but what has the support been like now?
I know. I mean, it's a good point. I think when I first started Germany, like as I kind of said there, I was a 20-year-old boy, Scotland fan. Like, no one followed me on Instagram or social media. Like, I was literally just like, I want to go and do this thing, and obviously went and done it. So there's massive differences this time around compared to last. I mean, I was so fortunate that, like I said, quite early doors when I was saying I was going to do that, it instantly caught a lot of attention on social media. A good few people in the mainstream media picked up on it, which honestly was such an honour and such big thing for me as well. Being young like that and having that sort of eyes on you early doors, I was like, wow, this is incredible, the support. But this time round, it's been way different, and it's been a lot easier in some aspects. It's been harder in some, but I feel that sometimes going into this one, people probably, you know I've got a bit more credibility, a bit more people that are probably like, aye, well, he's done one before. I can imagine, this isn't the craziest thing in the world, hearing that he's going to do another mad thing. So people have got behind it in a big way already. So much support so far. We've had, sort of Gordon Smart's been down. Craig Gordon was at the sort of launch event as well. And obviously, politics separate from the football and stuff, but John Swinney, etc., all sending support and kind of being behind the challenge, which these people, if you told me when I was 20, first starting Germany, that, the next time I would go to do a challenge, that these would be the kind of names that were backing it and behind it, I would have been like, nah, no chance. But, here we are now. And in terms of whether the charity kind of asked me to do anything and do it, not at all. These ideas are purely, I come up with them and I basically say to the charity, look, I think you are doing incredible work. I want to do it for you. They never asked me to do it. I don't get really anything in return. Obviously, there's personal gain off the back of it, but I don't. Obviously, it goes without saying, don't make any money. It's charity work. So no, I would do it all over again because it's a cause that's so important to me, and I'm doing it all over again with America.
I mean, I just wanted to ask you as well. Have you got like someone following you, like a camera guy or someone who's going to be there with you?
Yeah, good question, mate. So last time round I didn't. I filmed everything myself. It was just me. There was literally no one beside me for all the 37 days that I was walking. So it was purely myself. This time round, with the scale of America and how big it is, we've got a van, so like a support van that will be near and beside us, kind of the full time. So that's going to be driven by my best pal, who's been, one of my good pals since primary school. So he's coming along to kind of support. He'll be in the support van right beside me, which is amazing. Such a big bonus.
You mentioned obviously you quit your job and stuff, which is a big thing, especially someone like your young age. How did your family and that feel about all this? Were they like behind you, or did they think you're a bit nuts? Because I think
I know it's a fair thing to ask. I mean, I probably am a wee bit nuts in some aspects. There's probably a loose screw somewhere. Yet to find it and pick it back up and screw it in again. But how my family reacted, like, I travel, as I was kind of mentioned there. I love my travels and going to mad places and stuff like that. Anyway, at 20 years old, I'd been to 35 countries around the world and stuff. So I'd been to a fair few places, and again, all just working, saving up in my cafe job and funding these trips, getting Ryanair's 20 quid flights to wherever I could and going and escaping for a month. So, sorry, a weekend, not a month. So look, I'd always been adventurous. I'd always wanted to go away places and experience the world and do that. And then when the idea fell to me of doing Glasgow to Munich, obviously, when it goes without saying, when I initially told my parents, my mum and my dad, what I was planning, they were a bit like, "You all right, Craig? You had a knock in the head. Like, is everything all right?" But to be honest with you, they were so supportive from early doors. My mum tried to convince me to do other things, whether it was cycling, driving or whatever. But once I had an idea, I was doing that, and there was no swaying me. But now with America, it probably goes without saying, but they were just like, "Aye, of course you are, Craig. No problem."
Well, see in terms of you right now, then see in terms of your job, is that like see in terms of your full job and full time job, then is that just like social media, then? Aye?
So at the moment, like, well, basically, I'd been working in Nando's. I'd left the cafe once. Obviously, I left the cafe job to go and walk to the Euros. I came back and I had a wee bit of sort of spare time in between that. Obviously, kind of getting back to normal life and stuff. And then after about a month of being back, I got my job back in Nando's where I was working previously. But I was very fortunate that because of then the publicity and the building on social media and stuff, I was able to put a good bit more time into that. So I went back to Nando's and worked there part time while I was still kind of trying to build my stuff on socials and kind of try and make a name for myself on that. And I've been really fortunate that over the last kind of year while working in Nando's and doing the social stuff that it's continued to grow and grow, which is amazing for me. And when it got to Christmas time, I knew obviously World Cup was coming up and I knew this challenge was about to be announced to the whole of Scotland. So I decided to save up a little bit before I left, but I was doing fortunate with the social media stuff. So was able to pack Nando's in just before Christmas there and fully focus on the challenge and the upcoming challenge. I say it's basically full time at the moment, the content stuff, because it's been 24/7. That's consumed my kind of every single day and week in the build up to this challenge. But who knows what's going to happen after America? If I had to come back and get another job again part time, I'll do that. But these challenges, mean so much to me. So it's not an issue for me to do that.
I think the cause you're doing it for as well, mental health is a massive thing. Because obviously it's a football show, this, but mental health is still a big thing, especially for men. Because a lot of men, let's be honest, don't talk about it. I probably don't talk about it as much as I should do. Yeah. But I've always said to mates and stuff, look, if you need any help, I'm always a phone call away. Mm-hmm. Are you finding now that folk are reaching out and saying to you, Craig, this means a lot, what you're doing?
Yeah.
It's incredible what you're doing for mental health. Are you finding folk are actually reaching out to you and saying, thank you for what you're doing?
Mate, without a doubt. And it was the thing that, when people now talk about America and, why do you want to go and do it again? Why would you want to put yourself through that again and take on such a big task? Mate, when I'd seen the response from last time, the amount of heartfelt messages, people who had genuinely come up to me in the street and say, Craig, I know you don't know who I am, but I was watching along your challenge and, I was probably in a really bad place at the time, but even watching it every day, checking on where you are, I really got a wee bit of joy out of it and stuff. And people saying, I was probably terrible at opening up with my mental health, but it inspired me a little bit to be a wee bit more open and seek help when I needed it. That to me is what it's all about. And I say this with no sort of false illusion of the gravity of it all, right? If one person was, saved from being in a bad place, if one person watched that challenge last time round and was inspired by it or got a wee bit of joy out of it, then to me that's already a mission complete, and everything else is just a bonus off the back of it. I know from the amount of people that told me personally that they were affected and they really, really helped and felt seen by what I was doing last time round. So I want to replicate that in America and again showcase to America what Scots are made of. And there is a daft kilted man who's willing to walk 3,000 miles to showcase to people that it's all right to talk about it and to seek mental health support. But mate, the amount of incredible people I met along the way and messages of support, it'll stay with me until the day that I die.
And that's a good point that Graham mentioned about mental health. Football's a brilliant way to bring people together, but not only football, Craig, but other sports as well, kind of like rugby and what have you, kind of like team sports.
Yeah. No, without a doubt, mate, and it's one of those things as well. It's one of the main reasons why, especially last time round, this time it's a bit different. It's for mental health in general. Sam H are a mental health charity that focus on all aspects of mental health, whether that's youth, old, gents, females, all aspects of mental health in Scotland. But last time round, the reason why I focused on men's mental health in particular is because I seen that it was such a big issue, and especially with the challenge being football focused, it was all around football and going there. Let's be real. Obviously, there's a lot of females that watch football as well, but it's a highly dominated by a male audience, football. And I wanted to kind of be that, like, well, look, if all these guys are going to be watching the Euros, going to be watching the build up to it, and my story is just one of them, if we can then turn that into a positive and get guys speaking about it, you know, even if it was just, you see that guy that's walking to the Euros and then someone's like, oh, why is it? Why is he doing that again? And, you know, well, it's for men's mental health. And even that in itself is then open the conversation up, and people can take with that however they want, you know, whether they then went on to speak about it a bit further, then that'd be amazing. But you know, it's such an important cause to me, and using that football kind of bridge between the two things is something that I think worked really, really well last time, and hopefully again similar this time.
I follow you on most socials. I'm not stalking, by the way. I'm just saying that. But
no, it's fine.
I just started following you on TikTok. I didn't know you had a TikTok channel, so I started following that as well now. And some of the content on there, it's very wholesome. Like there's videos of you like at Scotland games just jumping up and down like any Scotland fan would. It's really good to see. You're just you're a young fan doing such great work for mental health. But at the end of the day, you're also a football fan, and you show that emotion, which I think is fantastic as well.
Mate, without a doubt, and like I think again at the heart of these challenges, right? I'm like, obviously, look, I wanted to do it for such an important cause to me, the mental health stuff, as we're kind of chatting about now. But mate, at the heart of it, I'm a Scotland fan who's buzzing that his team is going to be playing at a major tournament, and I wanted to celebrate it in a big way. The thing is, with the Euros and at the football, if anyone, you know, listening or watching has ever seen me at a football game, I am the most animated fan, and I cannot go to any sport and just sit still and not be, you know, animated at it, especially when I've got a vested interest. And the thing is, at that Denmark game and the videos that you're talking about there, you know, I didn't even know that anyone was videoing. I didn't even know that I was just a fan who'd recognised me and was just videoing the game. And then you see it myself, like, I can't contain my excitement. I mean, that was easily one of the best nights of my entire life, that Scotland-Denmark game. And you're right, mate, at the heart of it, I'm just a football fan. And obviously it gets to the point where with these challenges, the football is secondary in a way, of the sense of like, look, if Scotland go and get papped out of the World Cup, if we've still raised £1 million for charity, then, you know, it's still a huge win in my eyes. But as soon as I finish, I'm like, I turn off from Craig walking charity mode to Craig Tartan Army Scotland fan, and that's just the way that it is. And, you know, at the heart of it, that's why I do it, mate. And, you know, if anyone was to try and rip me out of the crowds in Boston or back in Germany when it was in Munich, Cologne or Stuttgart, then I would have told them to go away. I'm enjoying myself. Do you know what I mean? So that's at the heart of it, and it always will be.
See, in the build up to Germany though, how long in advance did you have to plan like your route and where you were staying? Because that must have taken a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, but as soon as I became obsessed with it, it just felt like, you know, when you're doing something that you love, and when you're working on something that you're really obsessed with, and obviously you guys, I imagine, take your time to come and do this podcast. You know, it's a labour of love. It's something that you enjoy doing. You just become obsessed with it, and I was spending every night time getting down, planning it. The more I would write it down in my wee jotter, the more it felt real, planning the route. So all in, after I came up with the idea and Struan helped me with the idea, it probably took about 3 weeks to have everything kind of set in stone, in the sense of, right, this is what I'm going to go here, going to go there. But obviously the planning in a wider sense would last a lot longer. But as soon as I had the route and as soon as I had a start date, I was like, well, there we go, and everything else will fall into place. So it did take a bit of time, but, you know, nothing crazy, man. And I was, as soon as I had that initial route, I was like, right, time to go.
I was just going to ask you, talk to us about the training, because it's not as if you're just walking across the road, you're walking so many miles, you know?
Yeah. No, it's a lot, mate. It's a lot. It's 3,000 miles across America that I'm going to be attempting to do this summer. You know, for anyone that's aware of America geographically, you know, LA to Boston is quite literally coast to coast. LA on the west coast, Boston right on the east at the other side of the country. So it's walking across the entire length of America. It's no mean feat. 3,000 miles is, you know, a huge amount of time. It will take around 3.5 months to complete the challenge. I literally fly out this Saturday, and I'm obviously just very fortunate that I managed to squeeze a bit of time in to chat with yourselves. But the training is intense, you know, it goes without saying. If you're going to be undertaking something of this size, you have to be training hard, you have to be ready, you have to be prepared for anything that can come your way. So to be honest with you, the training has been intense. There's a lot of gym sessions, a lot of going out cold, rainy walks, and all these things. But that's when it's really hard over in America. You call back to all these training days, and you think, "I've got this in the tank." You've put the hard work in. Now it's just a case of actually finishing it.
Sadly, I am the oldest person on this podcast. I know I don't look it, but I was saying to Vic before I came on tonight, I actually get a stitch playing at the Astro with my laddie, and you're walking 3,000 miles. You're putting me to shame here, Craig, mate. Come on, pal.
Well, it's not a competition, Graham. It's not a competition.
Going back to Munich as well, like you met Robbo at Andy Robertson and Skibby Clarkin, a few players at the hotel. What was like that to meet them? Because obviously you've been watching them for years on the TV, and now you're actually getting to meet your heroes. I mean, that's actually going to be one hell of a big dream.
I don't mean to embarrass you or cut you off, but it wasn't myself that met Andy Robertson or any of the players. It was Ethan Walker who cycled to the Euros. I didn't meet any of the players or anything like that myself, but you know, I met so many other incredible people along the way, and lots of other people who were obviously supporting it. So, you know, it was incredible in that sense. But no, the players or anything like that, they probably were aware of the challenge and obviously what was going on, but I didn't actually get to meet any of them myself. But, you know, Ethan, who I know very closely, I was at the premiere for their documentary, and, you know, he's an incredible young lad. The story and the way that he ended up getting to the Euros for their Make It to Munich challenge was absolutely incredible. You know, for anyone that doesn't know and is watching, I would highly recommend you go and check him out as well, because he's an absolute legend. But no, it wasn't myself.
I was just going to ask you, see, in terms of like people that are inspired by you and thinking, oh, next time Scotland go to the Euros, I want to do it. What sort of things would you say to them?
Do you know what? I would just say that, you know, go and do Scotland proud. You know, go and represent you. The whole thing with the walk was I wanted to showcase to the Euros in the footballing world what Scotland fans are made of. You know what I mean? That's why I do it in the kilt. That's why I want to represent. You know, and the thing is, there's probably going to be people that are like, "You're walking there to watch Scotland," and obviously we ended up getting beat 5-1 in the first game. But you know, if there's anyone that's inspired by it and thinks, you know, I want to go and do something like this, you know, think of causes that are really close to you, your heart, and just go for it, man. Like, people are capable of way more than they actually think. So no, I you know, obviously if anyone is listening and wants to go and do something themselves, they can always reach out and ask me for advice and stuff, and just give me a wee message. But yeah, it's obviously it's easier said than done, but you know, I think it's incredible, and anyone that wants to undertake any big challenge, I tip my hat off to them.
Yeah. So, Craig, have you been to America before, or is this your first time going to America?
I have, mate. I've been once before. However, I was a bit younger. I was out there visiting family when I was around 15, I believe. So never since actually, you know, being an adult and properly experiencing it for myself. But I have been over there, so you know, I've got a very kind of rough idea of the culture, what it's like over there. But obviously, it's a complete different ball game going over there at, you know, 15 16 compared to the age that I'm at now. So I'll be ready for it. You know, the years of travel and being different points of the world have kind of prepared me for it. So no, I look forward to whatever comes my way.
Craig, for folk that are watching this that don't actually know, can you kind of tell us a little bit about what Sam H do?
Yeah, mate,
I think it's important to know.
Absolutely. And you know, one thing that I always say as well is, for people that are watching these challenges and they want to support it and they want to get behind it, absolutely everyone who donates and follows the challenge deserves to know the charities and what they're doing and where the money's actually going to be going to as well. So for a little bit of context, Sam H have been a Scottish charity, a mental health charity that have been around for about 100 years. They do incredible work in Scotland. They're actually Scotland's leading mental health charity. So they're the biggest mental health charity in the whole of Scotland, and they do countless amount of things across the country. And that's a key point as well, as across the country. You know, this isn't just in Glasgow, it's not just in Edinburgh, it's literally nationwide. Sam H run about 70 different initiatives up and down the country. That ranges from dealing with younger people, with older people. It's things like football initiatives, like their changing room stuff that they do as well. But one thing that really I'm focusing on with this challenge and why we want to raise so much money for Sam H this time round is they've recently just opened their brand new network of national mental health support hubs. Now, what these support hubs are, they're called the Nukes, but effectively what the Nuke is it's barrier-free entry to mental health support. Now, I don't know if you guys and what your history and stuff like that is with mental health, but if anyone's listening and knows, you know, sometimes when you in this country, sadly, you know, if you're seeking mental health support, you can phone someone up and they're like, "Yep, come back in 6 weeks." And the reality of it is, some people just don't have 6 weeks. You know, when people reach that crisis level, they need support there and then. What these Nukes do is they offer a place for people to go straight away, no waiting list. You walk in and you get speaking to an expert and you get speaking to support straight away. So what I'm planning on doing is raising enough money to build one of these for myself. And people can check out Sam H and all the amazing work that they do. But if we're able to raise the £1 million that we've set, you know, we'll be able to build a full new facility of one of these. And, you know, they've got one opened in Glasgow that people can go to. You can look that up and seek it out yourself. Again, this is open 7 days a week, and they're recently opening one in Aberdeen as well now. So it truly is up and down the country. So if we can reach our target, I'll be able to build one of the Nukes for myself. Well, not by my hands. I couldn't build an IKEA furniture set. But you know, that's legacy right there, and that would be something that I'd be forever proud of if we're able to deliver something like that. But I would highly recommend, you know, anyone that's listening and wants to know a wee bit more about Sam H to go and check them out and the amazing work that they do.
And also, I put a link to the Sam H website at the bottom as well, and also running across the screen at the bottom, if I can do it right.
Yeah.
I always like doing that. Is how to donate to Craig Ferguson's fundraising page, Walking to America. I was going to ask you as well, Craig. Obviously, we've touched upon football, kind of mental health aspect as well. But also, I mean, you're not a kind of guy kind of gives it because you want to get attention. We'll leave that to other people to do, but you're seriously about mental health, and that's the way it should be. But also, like, you were nominated for a FIFA award as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
I mean, that was just incredible, and that was a real sort of pinch me moment. It would have been 2024, the tail end of 2024. I was in London at the time with a couple of my friends, and I got a DM off someone on Instagram saying congratulations on your FIFA nomination. I was like, FIFA nomination? I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about. What you mean? And then I looked up FIFA nominations, and it was the Best Awards. So the FIFA Best Awards, for anyone that doesn't know, is basically FIFA's equivalent of like their Ballon d'Or. So FIFA separated and went and done their own award show, which is now the FIFA Best Awards. The Ballon d'Or runs separately from that. So I looked it up. FIFA awards nominations or whatever. Obviously, you can see all the players and stuff like that were nominated. And under category of fan of the year, there it was, Craig Ferguson, my own name was on there, and I had to refresh it about 1 million times to make sure that someone hadn't had me on, and I couldn't believe it. And then obviously someone ended up reaching out and stuff, and obviously confirming that for myself. But you know, it was a huge honour. The thing is with the FIFA award as well is, look, I'm not just saying this for oh, look at me. I knew I had no chance of winning it. You know, I was up against incredibly inspiring stories, and also from a population point of view as well, lads. Like, not being funny, Mexico and Brazil, who were fans that we were up against, you know, have populations in the tens and hundreds of millions. Scotland's a nation of 5 million strong, so I knew that numerically we weren't on really for a winner there, but you know, it was a huge honour, and the fact that even being nominated for something like that and being shortlisted technically as one of the top 3 fans in the whole world of football is pretty incredible. Now, I don't take that on. I know there's countless more better fans than me out there, and especially even for Scotland. But you know, to be nominated for something like that was a huge honour for sure.
I'm sure other folk tell you this, and I don't need to say it, but you should be incredibly proud of what you've done, Craig, for the fact of mental health. I think it's been incredible what you've done, the work you're doing, And honestly, I think this walk to America, again, a bit like the Euros, I think a lot of folk will be taking a keen interest in this.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think the work you're doing is incredible for the charity.
No, I really, really appreciate it, mate. Thank you. And that's what I want to come across to people. Like you said, Michael. There's people out here doing stuff for the wrong reasons and stuff, and that's, you get that everywhere. And I'm not saying I'm the most self-righteous person in the world, and look, I'm doing all this. But at the end of the day, if we can raise so much money for charity and such good causes along the way, is doing something like this. So I get the adventure out of it, of walking across America. But if the charity can benefit in such a big way, then it's a win-win for everybody.
I know that we use this word too often in today's society, Reagan, but inspire. But I think Craig inspires a lot of people in terms of like, they want to do it, but they're a bit scared. But when they see the likes of people like you doing it, then they'll say, well, anything's possible, anything's achievable.
I hope so, mate. I hope so.
Reagan, were you going to come in there? Sorry. Oh,
Reagan, I thought it was
ran away.
In terms of the actual football, Craig, obviously you're doing this massive walk, but apart from that, how are you feeling about the actual World Cup itself?
No, I mean, separate from the walk and stuff and the challenge itself, I'm just buzzing for it, to be honest, mate. Obviously, the hard work throughout the qualifiers, and like I think now that the dust is settled, like Scotland finishing top of a qualification group in the European qualifiers is huge. I mean, for me, it was like when you looked back at the quality of the teams that are also finishing top. I mean, it goes without saying, but Spain, Portugal, Germany, like all of these teams, and then you see Scotland in there. It's like, wow, man. So it's incredible even being there. But I think that's one thing that hopefully we can kick out of, is that mentality of just being happy to be there. And I hope now, with the experience of these players playing at 2 Euros, albeit one was kind of 1.5 because obviously it was the COVID year. But I hope that those nerves that we've seen clearly visible at the Euros are just gone. And I really just hope that Scotland go out and take it to the world. I mean, you've got players in the squad. Obviously, McTominay's completely different player from what he was at the Euros, and he was still even amazing back then. But, he's went on to win the Scudetto with Napoli and stuff. We've got players in the team who can take it to the world, right? I'm not saying Scotland are world beaters, we're far from it, but I just hope that the nerves are gone. And look, if we can get a big win against Haiti in the start, I say if because it's Scotland, who knows, then you're probably looking at a possibility where you say 1 point from 6 gets you through. And obviously it's Morocco and Brazil, two of probably the hardest fixtures in the entire World Cup at the moment. But anything's possible, and I think we've seen it with nations up and down and all over the world at the World Cup before. Why can't it be Scotland's turn this time round? So I think we're going to do it.
I don't
not win it, by the way. Get out of the group. Just
no. Craig's already got his tickets for the final as well. But no, I was just speaking to somebody about this the other day, right, guys? But see, when you look at the Scotland games, the fixtures, they've actually kind of worked in our favour because you wouldn't want Brazil first.
No. It's worked in the favour in the sense that, look, you've got theoretically what is on paper the easiest game first, right? You win that, you go in to the second match week with 3 points, and again, I don't really care who that's against. Even just having those 3 points, right, it's going to put us in huge stead mentally to then be like, well, we only need 1 point now, realistically, to get out the group. So, and again, I know it's against two of the possibly the hardest opposition you can get, but look, anything's possible, and you've seen it at the World Cup happen a million times over. And like I said, maybe it's going to be Scotland's turn now.
And obviously, everyone's in the same boat. But this is my son is 14 on Saturday. He's never seen a World Cup before, so for him, he is genuinely excited, and I honestly can't wait for it. Only thing I don't like is the fact that first game was a 2 o'clock in the morning kickoff, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. But this is just this is amazing. Like,
Well,
as soon as that-
it'll be my first World
Denmark.
Cup as well, mate.
Oh.
It's the first World Cup for an entire generation of Scottish football fans. You know what I mean? So I've never experienced anything like this as well, and it's again why I want to go and do something special for it. Do you know what I mean? I'm 22 years of age, so getting something like this is incredible, and I want to take it in. You know, I'll be over in America, obviously not only just for the walk, but and hopefully until Scotland go out of the tournament. So wherever that takes me, fingers crossed, it's maybe to a wee round of 16, or who knows, maybe even a quarter-finals. But I think we're in dreamland now. But aye, dream bigger.
I mean, I noticed it at the Euros, like the COVID one, and even the one recently in Germany. Like the amount of Scotland fans, like even around my area, people that had Scotland flags outside their car windows, outside their houses. The World Cup will be even bigger. Like the build up to that is going to be absolutely incredible.
I can't wait for it.
I love tournaments. Even if Scotland done it, I love it. But the fact that your own nation is actually there, it just makes it so much better.
It just makes it so much more special, doesn't it? It really, really does just add to it there. I know, obviously, we're on live as well, gents. I need to shoot off very, very soon, but no, I appreciate you having me on, and thank you so much for giving me the time to kind of chat about what I'm doing and hopefully give people a better idea of the challenge and everything that's going on. But no, I appreciate you guys, so thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no bother, Craig. Final question for me, and I left it to last because obviously it's been an up and down season. St Mirren this season done well winning the cup, but what's went wrong?
Do you know? I don't know. I think it's probably a bit of a lazy excuse to say it's the cup hangover now. I don't think 2 months on from that you can kind of use that excuse anymore. But I also think that being a bit realistic as a St Mirren fan as well. That look, obviously for the past kind of 2 years, what Robson's been building in the league has been exceptional, and St Mirren have had some of the highest league finishes ever under the current squad and management. So we've been incredible in the league over the past few years. But this year, I think if you said to any St Mirren fan at the start of the year, you would be winning a cup and you finish potentially 10th. Everyone in I would hope the vast majority of sane St Mirren fans would say that'd be an incredible season. And look, obviously it's kind of gone wrong at the moment in terms of the league and stuff. I don't think it's going to continue this bad for much longer, So if we can securely finish, 10th and with that cup under our belt, then I don't think anyone's going to complain at that. So I'm confident that the ship will be steered a little bit there. But fingers crossed. I can only hope and pray at this point.
Well, there you go. Thanks to Craig Ferguson for joining us, and we'll speak to you live at the World Cup final when Scotland wins the World Cup.
Yes.
The details is at the bottom. Don't forget, we're back tomorrow night for the Celtic game. Big build-up from 4:30, and then we'll be back on at 10 o'clock. Thanks to Graham, thanks to Reagan for joining us tonight, and especially Craig Ferguson, and good luck, mate, and we'll see how we'll keep up to date when you're walking.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you. All right, thank you.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.